Out there, welcome to the first episode, our inaugural episode of the Nerd Cult, a not-so-clandestine organization interested in all things nerd and geek alike. I am one-third of your host, Tyler Lee.
Should I be introducing myself?
One of you has to talk.
Yep. Okay.
This is turning out so great.
Yeah, this is a good start. I thought there would be more introduction to that, Tyler.
Remember the relay thing that we were talking about? Yeah.
Remember the middle guy we were talking about?
I'm the weakest link. My name is Brock Parsons. I'm another one of the three
this
folks.
Out, by the way.
Okay, yes, yeah. I'm pretty much just here because I have a microphone. And I'm what you'd call the weakest link. Oh wait, no, Josh is at the end, so he's the weakest. I think that's what we decided.
That's how it works, yeah.
That's how it works. So, yeah, I'm the second host, Josh.
My name is Josh. Kind of got my thunder stolen by somebody saying my name, but no, I'm just. I'm the last leg of this relay, you know. The best leg. Not really. I'm probably the weakest link here, except I'm really good with Illustrator. That's what I bring to this table.
He did make the banner, which is...
He did.
There you go.
Really
yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
In case all our listeners can't tell, we're very sure of ourselves. What from each of us saying we're the weakest link, pretty much.
Just incredibly confident group of
Confidence is the key to any successful podcast.
You can expect that confidence to really radiate during these episodes. We're glad you're here.
You forgot, like, dweebish.
Dweebish.
Oh, yeah. What other nomenclature could we say that we represent?
Melvin-like.
Melvin-like.
The idiot loser. Piece of crap.
Creep.
Oh, so we're going negative as well. Lonely.
Puke.
The lonely.
I just thought we were throwing them out there. Yeah.
Let's tell you guys a little bit about what let's tell our listeners a little bit about what we're here for. As we've said, tackling all things nerd and geek alike. That's books, comics, anime, manga, movies, video games, tabletop, all that good stuff.
All those things I love.
Sure, yeah, we're going to cover just about every bit of that. I'm going to try to bring a little of the technology stuff to this table because I'm kind of a...
Oh, yeah, tech stuff, yeah.
Yeah, just tech stuff. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to that kind of thing. I always keep up with things that I either never buy or I do buy. I waste money on it. So
I love keeping up with stuff I never buy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or buying things and never, like, actually doing anything with it.
To be fair, I do that with video games and movies and a lot of the other stuff we're going to talk about on here, too. I guess
the other stuff.
Just a room full of stuff that eventually I'll never do.
You guys should see my Steam library. It's just a lot of unplayed games.
I feel like if you have a Steam library, that's what it looks like.
Right? I would hope so. Yeah.
A Steam library looks like that corner of everybody's closet that you've just kind of pushed stuff you passed on every day until you pushed it all the way into the corner and just forgot about it.
Like Farming Simulator?
Yes.
Yeah. I have that one.
In there. You have My brother told me yesterday, because my dad watches these gold digging reality shows, he said he found a gold digging simulator, and he was trying to play it, which is, I've heard of a lot of the, obviously you have the funny ones like Goat Simulator, but this one would have to be a serious one. I'm just trying to imagine,
Gold digging simulator. So Brock,
yes.
What have you been playing, watching, experiencing lately?
As I've mentioned to everybody, I gave in and bought Cuphead about a week ago, and I guess everybody's been kind of into Cuphead lately. There's a lot of Let's Plays and stuff of Cuphead, but yeah, it's been in one word, fun with a question mark. It's like imagine you're like a little kid again. You're sitting in front of your Nintendo Entertainment System. You boot up your favorite game. You're young again. After you've been playing a few minutes, it feels like your early childhood, and then you die over and over. Remember how you couldn't get past the first few levels because you were a stupid little kid? That's kind of what it's like.
Yeah. That's all of my childhood. All right.
It's kind of like that, but since you're an adult, you feel obligated to do better, I guess. So I'm kind of stuck in it now.
Damn obligations of adulthood ruining everything.
Yeah. The nice thing is, it is a lot of fun. It's pretty rewarding. People always compare it to Dark Souls, I think just because that's the go-to hard game that people have from this generation is the Dark Souls franchise. But I think it's pretty different from Dark Souls. Like,
I would hope so, I think.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's beautiful. I'm not going to talk too much about that. I think everybody kind of knows what it looks like. It's awesome. Every single thing is hand-drawn beauty. But unlike Dark Souls, where you're set up kind of with these long, I'm not even going to say levels, because it's like you're just exploring, trying to figure out where to go next, and it's kind of unrelenting. With Cuphead, you have really, really short levels, so even when you get really pissed off, like you're going to do, you can kind of start it over again. So if anything, it doesn't remind me of Dark Souls. It reminds me more of like Rocket League, where you can just start a new game, and it's like, 2 or 3 minutes of your life, so even if you do bad, you can restart. So, less like Dark Souls, more like, I guess just an arcade game, something like that. I think it'd do well in an arcade.
So when they compare it to Dark Souls, they're literally just saying it's because it's difficult.
It's because it's hard, yeah. It is hard. It's like where I'm at right now. I'm at the end of the second world, and I've actually gotten to the third world. But basically, you have to beat each boss fight on the harder of two difficulties, and really you don't get much for doing the initial, like I think it's like simple and then regular. That's your two difficulties. So so when you approach a boss fight, you get to, what I've been doing, I usually practice so I kind of have an idea of what I'm getting into with simple, but in order to really get the boss's soul, which is what you're trying to do to get to the final boss, you have to beat it on regular, and it's always just so much harder. But yeah, so you have these little tiny levels, and then you have these run and gun levels, and I've actually had a harder time with the run and gun levels because I don't even know. There's just so much more you have to deal with, I guess, before you get to the end. And you only get three hits and then you're dead. So it's it's hard, but a lot of fun, a lot of wonderful colors, lots of nostalgia there, even though I've never really experienced anything quite like it.
Well, it reminds me of like those, well, obviously it's based on those 1940s cartoons, but I used to watch, like you could buy those at the dollar store, those old Daffy Duck and stuff movies. Sure. I used to watch those all the time when I was sick at home. I love those so much. Like, like I remember this one, it was like during the war, and so you had Hitler, like a cartoon Hitler, like eating the carpet, and like,
wow,
so great. And then Daffy Duck is just like coming to kill Hitler,
just like he does. Yeah.
Yeah. And it makes me pine for those days, even though I wouldn't be alive for like 40 more years.
Because I don't know. I don't know what I don't know what your history books told you guys in school, but that's Daffy Duck killed Hitler. That's what happened, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Little known fact.
I think Quentin Tarantino covered that in Inglourious Bastards.
I think so.
Yeah, the real history of Daffy Duck killing Hitler.
Right. Jew Bear was actually Daffy Duck. That's what that character was based on.
Looked just like him.
Yeah.
No pants, blue shirt. Yeah. Solid. I love those old cartoons. And like, while it does feel exactly like you're playing one of those old cartoons, for whatever reason, I still think more of like the game I always keep going back to for whatever reason. I keep thinking of like Kickle Cubicle. Did you guys ever play that on the NES? I doubt it because nobody did, but it was it's kind of hard to explain. It was just a very bizarre art style. And I mean, the gameplay wasn't even anything alike. It was just kind of puzzles, but just the something about it. I guess something about the bouncy levels. Oh, also the bosses were vegetables and fruits. So I think that had a little something to do with it. Just the animated objects that are trying to kill you in a psychedelic space. That kind of does it for me. Yeah, some of it's terrifying, by the way. Like there's a dragon that you fight, and at one point, like, he just opens his mouth and his tongue comes out, and then all these little flame people are parading around. Like they're actually little tiny people, but they're flames and they're shooting stuff at you, and it's like they're having a parade. And meanwhile, like, the dragon's like spitting stuff. And
is this Cuphead or is it an acid trip?
This is Cuphead, the acid trip. Yes, yeah, it's great. Yeah,
I thought you were still talking about Kickle Cubicle.
No, Kickle Cubicle. Trying to think of the craziest thing that happened there, but I mean, it had a similar feel, I guess, as did a lot of old Nintendo games. Like, this would be right at home on an NES if an NES could play an old school cartoon. I think that's all I'm saying. But yeah, it's a
2D platformer, right?
2D platformer. Some levels, 3D? Like I said, are no, it doesn't go 3D. Some levels are kind of run and gun. Most of it is boss fights. Like, there's an overworld, much like your Super Mario, and then you just kind of get to pick the levels. And once you unlock one, and you can unlock things.
Mega Man or something.
Yeah, kind of similar to Mega Man. So, like, once you unlock stuff, you can even beat it on easy and unlock stuff, and you can kind of do it in whatever order that you want to. But, like, I don't know, you'll make it harder on yourself if you just do the ones that you want first. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun. So, no doubt there.
So,
but,
as far as Cuphead, would you recommend this? Would you recommend this game to people?
I guess that's what I was about to get to. Is I think I would recommend it to almost anybody. Like, I'd even recommend it to younger kids, because I think even if they're not good at it, like, even if they never beat it, like, they could have the same kind of fun as I used to on the old Nintendo games. But even if, I mean, nobody's really going to be good at it unless you're like just an expert at the side-scrolling shooter genre, and I don't know a lot of people that are. I'm sure they're going to be out, especially listeners of this podcast, they're going to be like, well, I beat Cuphead in like one go, but I doubt it. I doubt there's that many freaking people out there who can beat Cuphead in one go. It's going to be hard for everybody.
Congrats, that's how we're going to get bombarded with comments now, is because you said, I don't think there's anybody like that out there.
Yeah, no.
I'm sure we'll get bombarded with comments either way. Like, one of us is going to say something stupid, Josh.
Well, I almost said it was probably some Korean that did it. And so.
There it is!
What?
There
it is! What?
Oh, what are we, 17 minutes? 17 minutes in exactly.
I'm going to try to justify what Josh has said.
Here we go.
Koreans are good at video games.
They are good at video games.
It's not racist if it's positive, right?
The country of South Korea is really competitive when it comes to video.
Good spin, you politician. Yeah. Good spin.
Yeah, isn't that what people say? If it's, I mean, oh, you should be able to play basketball because you're black. Yeah, it's a positive spin. It's not racist if it's positive.
Obviously. Good thing subtlety goes over really well on these.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Just so you know, we're going to be talking about To Kill a Mockingbird later.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, gear up for that. That's going to be fun.
That's going to be the fun talk of this.
Well, now that we've successfully alienated some of our viewers, why don't we move on to something else?
Something
Josh.
Completely different.
Let's move on to Josh.
You sure you want to?
What have you? It's iffy. But what have you been watching lately? Playing, reading?
A lot of things, but Dragon Ball Super I'm a little obsessed with right now.
Here we go.
Yeah, I told myself at the beginning of Dragon Ball Super when I came over to the States, I'm just going to watch the dub. I'm just going to wait for the translation. I'm not going to move on, and then that didn't happen. So I've been watching straight through. I'm caught up with the subtitled version, and it's just blowing my mind. I love it so much. It's...
Oh, spoilers!
Some of these episodes.
We're probably gonna talk about some stuff. So spoiler alert for
Dragon Ball. Spoiler alert. Yeah.
If you don't want to hear anything, just skip ahead. I don't know. We'll put the timestamp on there or something. But yeah, it's just. I mean, the latest episode was a little. I mean, it was a little. Slow. Well, it's not slow. It's just exposition. It's setting something else up that's going to be awesome. So we got to see Vegeta with a little bit of tenderness, and I just want to talk about the greatest character of all Dragon Ball history, Vegeta, for a second. Like, how much? How much has he developed?
That's your go-to for the best.
Yes, Vegeta's the best. Are you kidding me?
I'm not going to argue. Just
no, you
getting that out there. Okay.
Please do argue with me, cause no, no. Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, there's so much development so far. Like, see. First, you got a world destroyer comes to Earth and then gets his butt beat. But then, by Yajirobe, no less. You remember that? He got his tail cut off?
Yep.
No, that was Goku, right?
No.
No, it was Vegeta,
Dragon Ball Z,
Yajirobe.
It was Yajirobe. Cut the tail off.
Yajirobe, yeah. And you gotta imagine, like, if Yajirobe ever sees Vegeta again, he's gotta be, like, kind of freaked out every single time. Even if Vegeta's made leaps and bounds, with character, he's got to be like, oh crap, there's Vegeta.
But yeah, so you start off there, and then he's just been second fiddle this whole time. But I mean, he's just, I don't know, he's developed more than any other character, I think. So now with Dragon Ball Super, if you guys haven't seen it, he's just like this reluctantly loving father that's just so good. I can't remember. I watched GT at the same time that I was watching Dragon Ball Super. I think it was GT, right, where he hits his son. Is that where he hits Trunks? Is that in Dragon Ball Super or GT?
That happened
when they're training and he punched him in the face.
Yeah.
Oh, that was Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, that was Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball Z?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. And then
they were training. They're training for the tournament right at the beginning of the Buu Saga.
Gotcha.
God, I'm such a Dragon Ball Z nerd.
Yeah, me too. That's why we're talking about it.
They all start running together, but yeah, like, so I think at that moment you realize, oh, he's changing. Like, he felt really bad for doing that, and so, but now, God, the whole episode with him and his daughter, where he's just like arms folded, looking away from everybody while they hold the baby and all that, and he's like actually getting angry at people talking about it and stuff, and talking about her name, and he spends the whole episode trying to come up with a good Saiyan name, and then Bulma just gives her own name without even consulting him, and I don't know, it's just so good. Now he has something really to fight for, and with this new Saiyan he's training, it's just going to be so good. I can't wait. I hope he actually wins the entire tournament, just so
that would be great.
Well, I don't know. If Frieza wins the whole tournament, like, some really destructive things could happen. I think I want to vote for that. That would be kind of fun.
One thing I love about the tournament so far, I mean, I love a lot of things about it. I will say that it's probably one of the best bits of Dragon Ball that we've ever had. But one thing I love about it is that I just have no idea where it's going to go. And even if, like, say Vegeta wins, I mean, I don't know what'll happen. I really don't know, like, where it'll take the show. What were we going to say? Oh.
Well, no, I was just agreeing with you, but
sure.
Yeah, I would hope that. Well, I think we have to have, like, Universe 6 has to survive somehow, right? So,
sure.
You have all this development with Hit and Kaba and Caulifla, or however you say your name, and
Kale too.
Kale, and you can't just lose those guys. They're just too much a part of our lives now. They're in our hearts.
In the most recent episode, I think so, Vegeta mentioned what his wish would be if he wins the tournament, and he said he'd wish Universe 6 back if they're taken out, which they probably will be at this point. So,
yeah, I love that, where he's like, yeah, if I win, I'll wish Universe 7 back. And he's like, you're not going to win.
Vegeta's like, well, I'm going to win. What are you talking about? Yeah.
You will never win.
Yeah. What do you mean if you win? Yeah.
But yeah, Frieza telling everybody what he would wish for, that he wants the power of the gods. Like, that would just be so terrifying. and so
that
cool.
would change some things. Yeah, that would turn everything on its head, I think.
Yeah, like I don't know how would they even handle that? That'd be nuts. But yeah, so because Goku would be the only one really that could probably stand up to him, because they would be the only ones left if Universe 7 won.
Sure.
You'd wish back Jiren, but then you can't really use the Super Dragon Balls. I don't know. It'd be awesome.
Yeah. Chaos. Yeah.
Insane.
In case our listeners are wondering, this is our Halloween episode. That's why you hear a wolf howling in the background.
I was wondering whose wolf.
I didn't even notice that. That's my wolf.
I live in Minnesota. We don't have dogs.
Oh,
you have
that's a lie. No, it's a complete lie. Yeah. It's a complete lie. But it's not here.
You have Timberwolves.
Yeah, we just have
basketball reference
that just run everywhere. I think everybody got it.
I hope so.
We also have wild.
This is a nerd podcast,
because that's an animal. We have wild here.
I will talk about basketball too much, probably.
I will zone out, but
true.
that'll be fine. So,
Josh,
you guys, obviously you've seen, as you said, you're both caught up to Dragon Ball Super, correct?
Yes.
Yep. And I myself, I'm not completely caught up, although the internet makes it to where I'll never be surprised by anything. I've always been a big Dragon Ball Z fan. Dragon Ball is still my favorite, but I've watched Dragon Ball Z. I even watched Dragon Ball GT and almost threw up, but be that as it may.
Well,
I started watching Dragon Ball Super, I think at you guys' recommendation, really. And,
yes.
Good job, us. High five.
Yes. And I just finished with the dub, so I'm like 2.5 full story arcs behind you guys right now.
Basically.
I'm gonna let me pose a question to you guys. You said you've seen GT, Josh. And as everybody knows, GT
fortunately,
I think the creator Akira Toriyama.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get roasted if I got it wrong.
Akira
He's not involved
Toriyama
with Dragon Ball GT, but he is with Super, correct?
Yes, that's right.
And I can, but I want to know if you guys can. Can you like immediately? Can you tell that he's there?
Absolutely.
When watching Dragon Ball Super?
I feel like even at the very beginning, and we talked about this a little bit before the podcast, where the first 2 story arcs are a little bit weaker in the show, I still feel like it's all pretty much better than anything in Dragon Ball GT. Just it's got more charm, more character development, more everything.
10 trillion %.
Yeah, I mean no question.
And it's like fan service, but it's good fan service. Like GT was trying to do like fan service in like a, I don't know, pandering way. Ugh,
yeah,
God.
I would agree with that.
I like cringe whenever I have to think about it. Like that whole series with Goku turning back into a boy. Oh my God, just like such a step backwards. Holy crap!
No.
And Pan was so annoying. She had so much like potential to be awesome, and still does, like in Dragon Ball Super. But God, what an annoying character!
Very annoying character.
But
the only thing I enjoyed about GT, like I thought Super Saiyan 4 was kind of cool, although I hated how they ended up handling it. But
sure,
the only thing I really liked at the beginning was you finally got to see like teenage Trunks a little bit more mature than when he was like a kid, and kind of start to take hold and be cool. And I was like, okay, that's cool. It was not enough to make GT watchable, but
no.
Which makes me insane with Dragon Ball Super is that you have these kids that are supposed to be like 15 or whatever, and they're like 8 years old still. Or
they
look
still
like...
have not aged the kids.
Well, because
I would say that's.
Well, because for Super, it takes place only a few months after Dragon Ball Z ended, instead of Dragon Ball GT, which took place like a few years. So
is it really?
Sure.
I thought it was years.
So it actually, in the first episode of Super, it actually says it's like been 6 months since they defeated Majin Buu.
Yes, so that's accurate.
Okay.
But I will say this: I believe it's been roughly 3 years now at the point that we're at. So, I can't get these ages right in my head, but I mean, I know that Trunks is basically a little bit older than, if you ever watch the history of Trunks, whenever Gohan dies, like, he's older than he was at that point, even though he was, like, depicted as a teenager. He's still depicted as, like, a little kid. I think the only thing that gets me is, like, Marin, which is Krillin's daughter, Krillin and 18's daughter. She is like depicted as like a baby or a toddler, but she's like 10 years old, and so that's really weird. Yeah, it just doesn't age at all. But that's my only complaint, I think, at all about Super is that that's weird to me.
So maybe she's just short, and they're trying to make her cute or something. I don't know. It's weird.
It's weird. It's really weird.
And then you have Goten, who's perpetually 7 years old, I guess.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
He will always be 7 years old.
I'm hoping after this tournament we have kind of a time skip and they address that, because by then it will be, only 48 minutes will have passed in the tournament, but like I figure for the animators they have time to come up with some new character designs.
Well, and especially if you're a Trunks fan, you already got teased with like you got to get an entire story arc of an adult Trunks.
Oh my gosh.
So good.
I can't wait till you get to that. Oh my gosh.
I'm getting close, and Trunks, that's the one I'm looking forward to.
Trunks has always been kind of my favorite. Maybe like when I was a kid, he was my favorite character for sure. But it's hard to say now. It's either like him or Gohan, maybe. But his own arc was that was the moment I knew I was like, okay, this is actually better than Dragon Ball Z. This is some of the best stuff that we've ever had. So
yeah, I'm not there. I'm not there yet on that opinion. So
yeah,
I'm waiting till I get there and see how it is.
You'll get there.
You'll get there, but not yet. I can imagine.
Yes. Let's move on to a very, I think Josh will agree, a very family-friendly TV show. Of course, we're talking about Netflix's Castlevania.
Yes.
For some of you,
family-friendly.
For some of you who may not be getting the joke, Netflix's Castlevania, based off the immensely popular Castlevania series by Konami. Not family friendly at all. Follows the Belmonts on their never-ending quest to defeat Dracula and his minions. Netflix adapted it into a little 4-episode animated TV series, which, in my opinion, they did quite a good job on it. It kind of hit in all the right places, in my opinion. Like, they got great voice acting. The animation is really good. The story is very good. They got the right people to work on it. And have either of you seen Netflix's Castlevania?
Yeah, I've seen it. Brock, I don't think you have, right?
No, I'm not caught up. I know it's only 4 episodes, but I just haven't had time to do it yet. Obviously, I'm a fan of like the games. So that's what I know a little bit about.
Definitely worth a watch. It follows. If you've played Castlevania 3, you kind of know the plot. It follows Trevor Belmont, Sifa, the magician Sifa, and Alucard, and their mission to defeat Dracula. Dracula.
Nice. There's no Grant.
There's no Grant. Dracula, voiced by Graham McTavish. He's a great voice actor.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor Belmont.
Great name.
Great, amazing name, right?
Great name. I agree. McTavish.
Trevor Belmont, voiced by Richard Armitage. I probably said his name wrong, but if you remember him, Thorin Oakenshield from The Hobbit.
I say Armitage. That's how I'm going to say it.
Okay. Wimitanya.
Yeah. That is a blast from the past.
That is
good, solid joke. Yeah,
I liked it. Yep.
Look up. Speaking of that, look up hot dog JPEG. That's just a kind of an aside.
Listeners, look up hot dog JPEG.
Everybody,
put that in the show notes, Tyler.
Yeah, that's going to be in the show notes. Look up hot dog JPEG.
I'm putting it in the group chat because it's amazing.
I think you guys can agree. Video game adaptations have been very hit or miss, really without the hit.
Oh God!
Yeah, I could name literally 1 or 2 that are break.
Or even decent.
Yeah, we're even tolerable, but maybe that's it.
I'm drawing a blank. I can't think of.
I will always refer back to. I would refer back to the Silent Hill movie. While being not well acted, everything else about it was wonderful.
What was it?
The Silent Hill movie?
Oh, Silent Hill, okay.
I will give you that simply because you made sure to preface that it was not well acted.
Yeah. It was directed by a non-English speaker, and I think if it wasn't for that, it might have been a little bit better. But overall, everything else, good stuff. But that's, I mean, literally all I can think of.
Yeah, I can't, man.
There's not a lot. I think they went
Street Fighter.
One way. Well, that's good for all the wrong reasons. It's fun. It's not good. But I think Castlevania got it right by making a series instead of a movie.
Yeah.
I think that was one way they went with it. I think another way they went with it was the executive producer and the showrunner, Adi Shankar. I'm so sorry if I butchered your name. He was behind I'm sure you guys saw it, that short film Power Rangers that kind of inspired the dark, gritty reboot. It was the one with...
yes.
Yeah, it was the one that was super, super dark.
So gritty, but it was cool.
Right?
It was
cool. He was behind that. So they were like, we like that. Why don't you come over and help us with Castlevania, which I feel like was a great move.
What a time we live in, man. You get discovered.
Right.
Just for doing, doing an awesome YouTube thing.
Yeah, just doing what you love, and then people throw money at you.
Yep. Well, he did a really good job touching on, like, it got the dark, violent, it's atmospheric, but it's also got that goofy kind of 80s horror feel when needed, like, especially through Trevor, through the main character, especially in, like, his opening scene where he's drunk in the bar. And there's, like, one scene where they're, like, going to fight him, and he's like, I am Trevor Belmont, I've never lost to man or beast, and he just gets punched right in the face.
Yes.
I think he ends up winning the fight, but he gets, like, his ass kicked. And then he throws up.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that throughout.
Yeah, and it was just the right amount. For a show like that, you have to go 100% campy, 80s, 90s feel, or 100%, or at least 98% dark and gritty and new. And I don't know, they did a pretty good job of doing that.
They were able to combine that.
Yeah.
Because you remember the fight scenes were amazing. Very well drawn, very well animated.
Yeah. And the scene that sticks out to me is all the demons coming out of hell and raiding the city. And oh, man. Yeah, that was so good. But, I think, I don't know, it feels incomplete now. I hope it is picked up for the second part, right? The second half.
I believe it is. It said it'll take them a little bit of time. Like, it's not going to be... I don't think it's going to come out at the same time it did last year. But I do believe they are working on it. And I think they're working on... Good. They're going to do more than 4 episodes, I hope.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because, I mean... I'm going to put an incomplete grade on it. Like, so far, I'm liking what I'm seeing. But it could go really wrong.
I can understand. I'm going to give it an A for what... Yeah. Because it did what it was supposed to do. Because they were like, let's see if people like this. And we did.
Yeah, and it's not like I don't want to see the next... it made me want to see the rest, but...
And I want to preface this with people who have played Castlevania. If you go into this thinking that it's your typical Castlevania story where we have to kill Dracula and that's it, you will be surprised. Because, Josh, if you remember, at the very beginning, they make Dracula... And we haven't had any spoilers, but I'll say spoilers, I guess, if you don't want to know anything, but we're not really getting into spoilers for this. But in the very beginning, they make Dracula a sympathetic character.
Yeah, which is kind of weird.
With him finding, like, the love of his life.
Aww.
Her making him like humans. Well, not like humans, but tolerate humans. And then the church just decides to, pee in his cornflakes.
She's witchcraft. Yeah.
They just take a whiz right in his cornflakes and kill her.
It's the Crucible all over again.
And he's heartbroken, so when he unleashes it, you're thinking, maybe that's excessive.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about...
But I get it.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about taking villains and making them sympathetic. Have you ever seen the Beowulf movie where Grendel is like his gears hurt, and that's why he's attacking people. I'm like, oh.
I always think back to.
This is where we'll disagree. I'm all for that, and I like that movie.
Well, no, I like it to a certain extent. It's just a difference. Sure. Like,
I was gonna say, it makes me think of what's his name, the remake of the Halloween franchise, where they turn the villain into a sympathetic sort of character. His parents were rednecks. That's all.
Well, that's why. When you do it shitty like that.
Yeah, that's my go-to that's my go-to make the character sympathetic just because kind of thing. So
I did like how they did Beowulf though, because if you read the story, the entire time I'm reading this story, I'm like, Beowulf is so full of crap.
So much.
He is so lying. And then to make the actual movie to where he is a liar and he over-exaggerates and is like hiding things, that was pretty clever.
They did good, yeah.
I had some things to ask you guys about Castlevania. So you touched on a little bit. So from a paper cut to the Shining scene where the elevator doors open and blood goes everywhere, how much blood is in the show?
Have you seen any anime ever at any point?
I mean, are we talking like...
well, there's American version Dragon Ball Z type of blood.
Are we talking Berserk? Like that level of blood? Or
kinda, actually, yeah.
Okay.
I would say Berserk level.
Or what was that vampire anime? What was that called?
Vampire Hunter D?
I mean, there's Vampire Hunter D, but I think you're talking about
Vampire Hunter D. Or then wasn't there a Hellsing? No, it was called Hellsing.
Oh,
Hellsing.
yeah, Hellsing.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Stuff.
Tone and everything.
Yeah. Okay. I liked that actually.
Because it's not for kids. It is.
Oh yeah. I gathered that.
18
I was just curious. I was curious exactly what I was getting into because I was like,
okay. I'll say this: he never cuts off an arm and then just fountains of blood spray out. It doesn't do that. But it's when he cuts something off, a lot of blood comes out, but it's not like blood spraying everywhere.
Sure. Let's see. Other
would probably happen in real life.
Yeah, that's probably accurate. I was going to say the main one that I played, I guess, was the original on NES, and I always loved the music. I mean, I played, I think, all of them. I mean, maybe not all of them, but most of them. Was it a whole new soundtrack kind of thing, or was it kind of similar to the games?
Well, it wasn't 8-bit chiptune-y, but...
Well, sure.
Yeah, with the... which would have been kind of cool. That would totally fit the tone, and
Yeah.
Yeah, man, the organ music. I need to start paying more attention to music in movies and videos altogether, but from what I remember, it's pretty fantastic.
That's awesome.
I'm totally into organ toccatas and fugues and fantasias and all that, so I love stuff like that.
One day when we have a
I love
full orchestra, just do our intro.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, they did a really good job on the music. I love music in games and movies. It's one of my favorite things, and I remember thinking that they nailed it in Castlevania.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm a big fan of good soundtracks for sure.
Listen to it real quick.
Oh, hey, there you go. Does Mr. Vampire have his whip? Is there whip action in this?
Oh, yes. Trevor Belmont's main weapon is the whip,
Vampire.
And
nice.
And it comes into play a lot, and
fantastic.
I loved the way he ended up using it. There's a couple scenes where he's using the whip, and his opponent jumps, and he just kind of flicks it, and then grabs part of it with his arm and directs it to where it hits them in the side, so he can direct it. And there's another part where he throws his short sword up into the air, grabs it with his whip, spins it, and hits him with it, and then jumps into the air and kicks the short sword into their face.
Wow, that sounds great. Yeah,
it's the fight scenes are amazing, completely unrealistic, but amazing.
Well, sure, yeah.
I forgot.
Good with a whip.
Speaking of music, the very first song has kind of a techno-y, 80s feel to it. I can't remember if it's the first one, but it's at least the one where it's one of the early ones. It's and then it goes into.
Well, I think it is.
Modern.
I think it is the first one, actually. Right when it starts.
Yeah. was a pretty good stuff.
Awesome. That's cool. Nice.
Well, speaking of old school games, God, I'm killing it on these segues. Awesome. All right.
Yeah, good segue.
By killing it, I mean they're kind of terrible, but whatever. Old-timey games. Speaking of, I recently read a book. That's right, people. It's not just going to be anime and video games. It's going to be a lot of books. Did you just say boo?
What?
I thought I heard you say... Did you just say
I thought
boo?
he did.
No, I have music going on in my head, so I might have said something. I don't know.
When you said book, I thought you said boo, and I was going to be like, get the fuck
out. Oh, wait.
What
was that America F Yeah song?
Books.
Books.
So yeah, I read one of the books I read recently. Was called... See, and I love our audience. You just thought it was going to be mindless video games. No, here's a book. You know what the book was about? Video games. Anyways, console. It's called Console Wars: Sega, Nintendo, and the Battle That Defined a Generation. I will refer to it as Console Wars from now on because I'm not saying that whole title again.
Every time you have to say that title.
Every time I have to say the entire title. It's written by Blake J. Harris. He did really well with the book, which I'll get into that in just a second. It basically follows the time period when Sega was about to release the Genesis in America. Like, it had been released in Japan. It wasn't doing that good. Sega wasn't doing that well at all. So Sega found this guy, Tom Kalinske. He was a former toy exec. He was a guy responsible for making Barbie as popular as it was at that time, which is a pretty big deal, actually, if you look at the history of that.
Okay.
And they basically said, you're really good at this. Would you come to Sega of America and become our president and CEO and leader of our marketing team? He reluctantly says yes. And then the book basically chronicles Sega it's Sega the underdog story, basically, against Nintendo. And it hits on a lot of really great points. It's a very interesting book, especially if you like video game history, which I love video game history. And Josh, I know you love video game history as well.
Yeah, dog. I love history in general, but...
Well, yeah, history in general.
Definitely,
sure. Touches on all the good parts that you'd want. It's the release of the Genesis, how they marketed it to compete with Nintendo, the creation and release of Sonic, and Sonic 2 being like one of the first, if not the first, worldwide releases, like the first game with a street date, which was a big deal. And just all of that stuff leading up to when there was that glimmer of hope where Sega finally is better than Nintendo for like a day.
For a brief
more than
shining
a
second.
Yeah. It was more than a day. It was for a little bit, and then all the
I'm
going
to say something controversial. Sega Dreamcast, better than Nintendo 64.
They actually... Okay, I like the Nintendo 64 more. I'm not going to argue with you on that because I don't exactly think you're wrong.
Yeah, I don't think you're far off with that one. I mean,
and to be fair, they talk about that in Console Wars because it goes through that generation, because that was essentially like the last cry of Sega, was the Dreamcast.
God, man.
And the Dreamcast...
People just didn't understand.
It had a bunch of stuff that was way ahead of its time. Like it was going to have online
Exactly.
games.
Oh my gosh, there's so many things.
Well, if you listen to this, if you read this book, the big problem that it had was when Sega announced it. It was like, it has this much power, and it can do this, and it can do this, and it can do this, and it plays not DVDs. I think they called it GVDs or something. It was a different format because DVDs were starting to take off.
Format wars are a whole other topic, by the way.
Right, yeah.
There's a lot of fun there.
So they went with this, and literally the problem they had was then Sony came out and said, here's the PS2, it can do this,
or PS1.
It's more powerful. No, PS2.
Really?
Yeah, because you remember the PS1 came out with the Sega CD and the Sega Saturn.
Oh, I forgot about
Sega
okay,
Saturn.
So we're going Saturn to okay.
So it basically came out and
yeah, they had
was
discs first, right?
Well, and that was the thing. Sony said, so we're going to do DVDs, and we can also produce them, so it doesn't cost us very much. And then their big mic drop was, it's also a DVD player.
Yes.
And there was just no fighting that. So
sure, yeah.
So like I said, if you like video game history and if you're interested in that, Console Wars is a really, really interesting book. It's not just about Tom Kalinske, though it follows him primarily. It also has stuff from Nintendo's perspective.
Sure.
Now, as I've said, you've noticed that I've said it's interesting. I haven't actually said it's good.
Okay. Good point.
I liked it. It was entertaining. But when you read it, it's clearly... I will say this. Instead of reading like a piece of journalism, like a history book or something like this would be,
sure,
it actually reads like a fiction novel.
Interesting.
They set up the dialogue like it doesn't follow like a history. It reads like a story. So the dialogue is clearly exaggerated, like you would in a fantasy novel. Like,
wow.
There was just weird stuff. Like, there's this one conversation between Tom Kalinske and someone in Sega of Japan, and Tom Kalinske tells him, it's like, let's be serious. And the guy responds, according to this book, with something like, all right, well, I'll remove my crown and you remove your jester's hat and we'll be real about this. And I remember reading it and I'm like, who the fuck talks like that? And then there's like another part where they're in the cab in New York City, like Sega's marketing team, and they're in like a traffic jam or something. And they're like, I hope we can get there. And one of the guys says, well, now we're at the mercy of... God, what did he say? Like, he referenced like a Greek god, but mixed their name with like traffic or something. Like, he said traffic. He said, we're at the mercy of Trafficles.
Oh my god.
And they said, who's that? And he goes, you know, the Greek god of gridlock. And again, I'm like, who talks like that?
Nobody talks like that.
The cab driver said that?
No, one of the marketing, the leader of Sega's marketing said that.
Oh
so
my
that,
god.
While it made it very interesting, it was, the whole time I'm reading it, all I can think of is, I don't think they said that. I don't think the dialogue went like this. So it makes you question the author, which then makes you question the facts he's written down. I'm quite sure that a lot of the facts are straight.
But it's bias, probably.
Yeah, but it's hard to trust the author at that point when the dialogue is so exaggerated and it actually feels like a fiction story.
Sure.
Yeah, I hate it when they do that with history.
I had just for funsies, because this book has really good reviews, 4.3 out of 5 stars on Amazon. But just for funsies, I was going to look at the negative reviews. I mean, that's a lot of them, but some of these are funny, by the way, as they always are.
Let's hear a couple of them.
Yeah, okay. I'm just some quotes.
We're actually going to do this is our podcast from now on. We're just going to read negative reviews on Amazon.
Yes, and I hope someday we can read the negative reviews on our own podcast, on the podcast.
I hope
so. Let's see. J. Doom says, terrible writing, just terrible. Tommy Wiseau would have done a better job. The fictional dialogue is unreadable, just horrible. Just try getting through the intro when he does a lame job of screenplay-style dialogue between Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg.
Oh my god.
Wow. Okay, there's one.
Console Wars, The Room.
I mean, if Tommy Wiseau did write it, it would have been better, no doubt.
I did not destroy Sega. I did not.
The god of Greek gridlock. Oh, hi, Matt.
Oh, hey, Shijiro.
Oh, hey, Shijiro. Oh, geez, let's see. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these are serious 1 stars. I just got a kick out of the Tommy Wiseau thing. Let me see.
No, I'm so glad you read that one. Oh, God.
Yeah! I couldn't get past the first few pages of this garbage. If I had written an actual record of what happened, I would have been riveted, but I don't want to read made-up conversations the author came up with. Blah, blah, blah. It's so poorly written. Jeez. Wow.
So, it sounds like that the negative reviews are kind of what I thought they would be, but they're... Like, I don't think it's that bad because of it, but it definitely sounds like they hit on the same points I did. They're just less merciful, I guess, than I am.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it's entertaining, and that's why I bought it. I was like, it entertains me. So
exactly. Right.
But it's clearly it was problematic. Like I would probably give it an average to maybe a little below average review, just because. Sorry, that's not. I don't feel like that's how you do a piece of journalism. You don't make it like a fantasy story.
Sure. Maybe he was going for something
no,
like.
No, that's what journalism's about nowadays. Didn't you?
Fake
Did you
news.
get the memo?
Maybe he was going for something like the Social Network, like a fictionalized, super edgy, fun take on a But I mean, I don't think you could.
They're making a movie off of this. They're actually making a movie off of this.